If someone had simply told you what was about to happen inside this quiet family home, you would never believe them. Not because the story sounds exaggerated, but because it sounds impossible. What the camera recorded that day forever changed the way one family viewed loyalty, danger, and the silent instincts that live within a dog's heart. And if that tiny blinking camera hadn't been running, the truth would have remained buried under fear and accusation. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from. Write your country name and the current time there. The day began with a heaviness that had nothing to do with the weather. The sun was shining, breakfast was ready, and the scent of toast filled the kitchen. But none of that mattered. Not when David slammed his hand on the table hard enough to rattle the plates. "I'm done, Sarah. I mean it this time. The dog is leaving today." His voice wasn't just angry, it was final, as if he had carried this decision for weeks. And in truth, he had. Sarah held their daughter in her arms, gently bouncing her, trying to keep the baby calm despite the storm erupting across the room. But even babies know when something is wrong. Their daughter whimpered softly, shrinking toward her mother's chest. "David, please," Sarah said, her voice tight. "You're making a mistake." A mistake. He gestured toward the golden retriever lying quietly in the living room doorway, head resting on his paws. "That dog watches her every second. That's not normal, Sarah. It's obsessive. It's dangerous." His words cut the air like blades. Sarah's heart twisted. She knew David wasn't a cruel man. He was a cautious father, but sometimes too cautious, the kind who imagined worst-case scenarios long before they existed. And over the past month, he had convinced himself that the dog's closeness to the baby was a threat instead of a bond. "You're misreading him," she argued, hugging their daughter tighter. "He's never harmed her." "That you've seen," David snapped. "What about when you're not watching? What about when your back is turned for 2 seconds? One moment is all it takes, Sarah. One." The retriever lifted his head at the shouting. His eyes moved from David to the baby, then back to Sarah. He didn't growl, didn't stand, didn't react. He simply watched, calm, steady, unmoving. But to David, that calmness wasn't comforting. It frightened him more. "He's waiting. He's just waiting for the wrong moment. I can feel it." Sarah stared at her husband in disbelief, sadness swimming beneath her frustration. "You're wrong," she whispered. "You want to bet our daughter's life on some instinct," he shot back. And then something inside Sarah snapped, not with anger, but with clarity. "If you're so sure he's a danger," she said slowly, "then prove it." David froze. "Prove what?" "Let him be alone with her. 10 minutes. Us watching from another room. The camera on." Her voice steadied, becoming firmer with each word. "Let the evidence speak. If he's truly dangerous, we'll see it. And if he's not, then you promise to stop trying to send him away." David blinked, stunned. He hadn't expected that. But his pride, his certainty, pushed him forward. "Fine," he said with a cold smile. 10 minutes. And when that dog proves me right, you'll wish you'd listened." Sarah looked down at her daughter, soft curls, tiny fists, trusting eyes, and prayed she wasn't making a horrible mistake. But deep down, her instincts whispered a truth she couldn't ignore. The dog wasn't the threat. Something else was. She didn't know what. Not yet. But she was about to find out. The living room felt different the moment they placed the baby on the carpet and stepped back. The child rocked forward, slapping her hands against the rug, giggling at the softness beneath her palms. The retriever, still lying several feet away, lifted his body into a sitting position. His eyes focused on the little girl, not with hunger, not with tension, but with a seriousness David interpreted as danger. The camera light blinked red. The test had begun. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. David closed the door behind them, and together they retreated into the kitchen, the phone between them streaming the live feed. Their daughter's squeals and babbling filled the room. So innocent, so unaware of the drama unfolding around her. "Look at him," David muttered. "Look how he watches her." But Sarah saw something different. She saw understanding, awareness, concern. It reminded her of something she couldn't quite name, some deeper instinct in the dog that seemed older than training, older than commands. Something primal. The baby crawled closer to him, tiny fingers reaching. David tensed. Sarah held her breath. The retriever didn't move toward her hands. He moved toward something else. He slid his body sideways, blocking the sharp corner of the coffee table from her path. His shoulder formed a barrier where she might have bumped her head. David frowned. Why did he do that? "He's guarding her," Sarah whispered. "Dogs don't." But he didn't finish the sentence. Because something changed. The retriever's entire body stiffened. His ears flattened. His gaze shot to the left side of the screen. A low vibration, almost too faint to hear at first, echoed through the house. Then the small robot vacuum rolled into view. It moved slowly, humming across the carpet like an unaware intruder. Sarah's heart lurched. She remembered the previous incidents, the vacuum sucking the dog's fur, trapping him, pulling painfully until someone intervened. She remembered the fear in his eyes when the machine turned on. He avoided it every chance he got. But now, he did the opposite. He leaned forward. He prepared. "Why is he?" David began, but the answer was already forming in his mind. The vacuum rolled straight toward the baby. The dog rose to his feet, his stance lowering into a defensive posture. His breath deepened. Muscles tightened beneath golden fur. The baby clapped her hands, delighted by the approaching shape. She didn't know danger, but the dog did. Sarah gripped the counter. "Please, please protect her," she whispered. The vacuum kept coming. Closer, closer, and then the retriever moved. Not in panic, not in fear, but with purpose. He stepped directly into the vacuum's path, blocking it with his entire body. His chest braced against the plastic. A low rumble vibrated through the speakers, not a threat to the child, but a warning to the machine that had once hurt him. The vacuum bumped into him. Hard. He didn't flinch. He shoved it aside with his muzzle, pushing the machine until it lost direction and spun away. The baby squealed with happiness, patting the dog's back. He didn't even look at her. His eyes followed the retreating vacuum until it disappeared behind the sofa. Only then did he lower his body and curl himself protectively around her small frame. His back formed a shelter. His legs boxed her in gently. His head rested beside her knee. Her guardian. Her shield. Her silent protector. Sarah covered her mouth with shaking hands. "Do you see now?" she managed, tears falling. He wasn't watching her to hurt her. He was watching to save her. For the first time since the argument began. David had no reply. His face paled. His shoulders slumped. Reality broke whatever stubborn fear he had been gripping. He whispered, barely audible. He protected her from the thing he feared most. When the timer ended, Sarah rushed into the living room, heart pounding. The baby squealed with delight as her mother scooped her up. The retriever rose instantly, sniffing the child as if confirming she was unharmed. His tail wagged slowly. Not excitedly, but with relief. David stood in the doorway, frozen. The man who had insisted the dog was dangerous now stared at him with a mix of guilt and awe. He approached carefully, kneeling down until he was level with the golden retriever. The dog didn't pull away. He didn't hesitate. He simply pressed his head gently into David's hand. David's voice cracked. I was wrong. Sarah turned, holding their daughter close. Yes, she said softly. You were. But she didn't say it with cruelty. She said it with gratitude. Gratitude that the truth had been revealed before it was too late. The dog curled himself beside the nursery door that night, just as he had every night before. But this time, they understood why. He wasn't guarding the room out of habit. He wasn't watching the baby because he was obsessed. He was fulfilling a role older than any rulebook, older than the house they lived in, older even than the family itself. Dogs guard what they love. And he loved their daughter more than he feared the vacuum that had once terrified him. Sarah gently stroked his fur before turning off the hallway light. Good boy, she whispered. Thank you for keeping her safe. Inside the nursery, the baby slept peacefully, unaware of the drama that had unfolded around her. But she seemed to sense comfort in the quiet. Every now and then, she smiled in her sleep. David sat on the floor beside the dog, leaning his back against the wall. You're not going anywhere, he said quietly. Not ever again. The retriever blinked slowly, resting his chin on his paws. A silent understanding passed between them, a truce, a promise, a beginning. From that day forward, no one questioned his purpose again. No one wondered why he followed the baby. No one misread his watchful eyes. They finally understood. Some protectors bark. Some bite. Some stand tall. But some protect in silence, waiting, watching, loving without needing recognition. And this dog, this gentle, loyal soul, had shown them what true protection looked like. Would you have trusted the dog that day? Yes or no? Comment below. Your story might help someone else see what real loyalty looks like.